Alright, here's the first t-shirt. We're going to open it up, but it's very important to put the foot of the t-shirt close to the sewing machine, and we're going to have it face down. I guess that's kind of hard to see because it's a solid t-shirt. I flipped it over because I wanted the bad side to be on the back. So the good side is face down. Alright, second t-shirt, we're going to put the head of the t-shirt where the collar would have been up by the foot of the previous t-shirt. Put them together, come as neatly as you can, but not too neatly. Don't worry about my fingers. I'm good, I'm good. And then we sew it. Just like that. Break off the threads, and we pull that second t-shirt over, and lay it down because we're going to put the third t-shirt on top of it. There's the third t-shirt. Again, put the head of the t-shirt face up again on top of the foot of the t-shirt before it. Put it together as neatly as you can. It's got all 4 layers, 2 layers for each t-shirt, and we're going to sew that together. Just like that. This machine's incredible. Alright. Last one. So we'll put the 4th t-shirt on top, and see, we'll lay it down head to foot, face up again. Don't worry about perfection. Put it as close as you can. The beauty of the serger is it cuts off the edges before it sews. So it makes everything look so pretty. I like it. Now, once I do that, I grab the first one in that column, and I just kind of neatly place it on top like a stack, and I just lay it over to the side. And then I grab my next stack. There's my next stack of 4 t-shirts. So you see what we're doing is we're making columns. We're going to be making 4 columns of t-shirts. Alright, I'm going to make sure you understand this. You open up this t-shirt, you see that's the foot, and that first t-shirt has to be face down. But the second t-shirt is going to be face up. Lay the top of the t-shirt or the head of the t-shirt where the collar used to be. We lay that down on the foot of the t-shirt before it, and then sew it up. On our way now to making our second column, second of 4 columns. There we go. Awesome. Alright, now time for the third t-shirt. I'm going to lay it down, face up, head to foot of the last t-shirt. And sew it. Awesome. Alright. Last one. Last t-shirt to make our second column. Here we go. Head to foot, you see, the top of the t-shirt is on the foot of the last t-shirt, face up again, and we will sew it, and after we finish sewing it, we're going to grab the first t-shirt that we had laid down and just kind of fold it on top and set it aside. Here it comes, kind of that grayish blue t-shirt, there we go. Lay that down, and we're going to set it on top of our first column. So 2 columns down, 2 columns to go. Now is the time for our third column. Here is the first t-shirt for our third column. Again, be sure that you lay the first one face down. I know it, yeah, you see I flipped it over because I'm trying to figure out which t-shirt I want to be face up. So this is the back of the t-shirt right now. And also notice that the foot of the t-shirt is closest to the sewing machine. Second t-shirt, laying it down. We're going to lay it down close to the foot of the t-shirt, but not right on that seam. Be sure that you always put it below that bottom seam of the t-shirt. Just too much material to sew through. Okay, third t-shirt coming. We're going to open it up and lay it down. Just like that. Time to sew. It's my job to fulfill it, Texas. I like that t-shirt. All right, open it up. See, I'm just going to pull that third t-shirt over and then get my fourth t-shirt. So this is the last t-shirt of the third column. We're going to be laying down. Face up again. The head of the t-shirt is going to be laid down at the foot of the last t-shirt. Almost done. When we finish, we're going to take the first t-shirt we had laid down and just drape it over and stack it on top of the other two columns that we have already made. 3 columns down, 1 column to go. Here's our fourth column. First t-shirt, so we're going to lay down. I can't stress to you enough, I lay it down, face down, open it up, face down, with the foot of the t-shirt closest to the machine. The second t-shirt we're going to lay down is going to be face up, with the head of the t-shirt on top of the foot. But you see, I leave that gap there. See how there's a lot more blue there? Because that's the seam from the bottom of the t-shirt. And I don't want to have that on the blanket because it's too much material. And it also messes up my machine. So I just cut it off as it sews. Here comes the third t-shirt. Oh, that's just a little piece left over from the sleeve when I cut the sleeve off. Also notice on this t-shirt there's a pocket. I leave the pockets. Why not? I think they're a little bit whimsical, a little bit of the unexpected. So I leave it. I like it. All right. Here we go. There we go. One more to sew. I just try to do the same thing every time. And I've been making these for almost 4 years now. And it just works, you know. It's a good system. It's a good way to make a lot of blankets in a short period of time. Last one. Okay, now I'm not going to fold the top down. You see how I'm just turning it sideways? Reason being is I'm going to grab the last column I made off the top of the stack and I'm going to lay it down on top of this fourth column. So what you're looking at is the top of the fourth column. All right? Yeah, I'm trying to make sure some of the little bubbles are pushed out. So here is my third column. I'm going to sew the third column on top of the fourth. So this takes a little bit more time than making the columns when we sew them together. But I try to get the 4 layers together neatly. But they don't have to be perfect because the sewing machine the serger will cut those edges pretty before it sews it. When I get to the seam, you will see it will sew that seam down. So what you're looking at is I put the seams on the top of the blanket. And the reason for that is if somebody wants to wrap up in these blankets, then they have a seamless soft side on the back to wrap up in, if all the seams are on top. And there we go. Time to sew. So yeah, you can see I can go probably about, I don't know, probably about 8 to 10 inches at a time. I don't know, give or take. But it's a constant kind of readjustment. Yeah, you see I'm showing you there how the seams don't line up with the columns. So I know some of you perfectionists out there might have a problem with that, but there's really a reason for this. The reason is I want to use as much fabric from these t-shirts as possible to make the blankets. So it doesn't bother me if the seams don't line up. Where I will make it line up is at the very bottom of the blanket, and I will show you that. It's coming up in a little while. I try to keep my threads off to the side as I sew. That's what I was doing there. And so you see the design on the back of that t-shirt is not perfect, perfectly centered on the t-shirt. And the reason for that is sometimes the t-shirt print isn't centered on the t-shirt. Or when it is washed, the t-shirt twists a little bit. Okay, so you see I'm opening up the 2 columns there. So I'm opening them up, and I'm going to get that 3rd column ready, and I'm grabbing my 2nd column, and I'm going to lay it down on top of the 3rd. So that is the top of the blanket right there. I'm going to start sewing the 3rd column to the 2nd column. You see, just get them as close as you can. But it's okay if it's not perfect. It really is, my friends. So I'm just going to keep sewing that then. Yeah, see, I cut the threads off from the seams as I sew. And we're going to keep going. You will be amazed at how quickly you can make a blanket this way. I just love doing this. You see how the seam looks a little bit wrinkled there? And that's okay. It really is. That's what's so important about these blankets, is using as much material as possible from each t-shirt. We just don't want to waste a lot. Okay, we're getting to the end of the columns, and sometimes they line up, sometimes they don't. It just depends on how long the t-shirts were to begin with. Time to open it up. Look how big already. That's 3 columns of t-shirts. So that is 3 columns of 4 t-shirts. So we've got 12 t-shirts sewn together. And now we're going to put our 4th column on. here comes our fourth. Well, excuse me, that's the first column that we sewed, okay? So that's the first column we sewed, and we're sewing it to the second column. See how quickly this goes? It is such a blessing to be able to do this. I love it. We haven't been sewing that long either, so it's not like a normal quilt. There is nothing between the layers of the t-shirts. So it's a thin blanket, but you would be surprised how warm 2 layers of t-shirts can be. The other advantage to sewing the blankets like this is that they wash and dry very easily because they're not thick. After we get to the bottom of this column, then we're going to open it up and we're going to sew all the way around the outside of the blanket, almost to the end. And you'll see as we get to the end that there are 2 different lengths, and that is okay because we're going to straighten it up when we sew around the outside. Now, why is there so much difference? That is because smaller t-shirts are also shorter. Like a men's size small t-shirt or a men's size medium might only give me, say, 21 inches from the top to the bottom of the t-shirt, versus a large or an extra large men's t-shirt will give me 22, 23, 24 inches. Okay, I decided to add a little material to the bottom of this last column because it did seem like it was a little too short. What's important to me is to make the finished blanket at least 90 inches long, 90. And the reason for that is that's the normal length of a blanket. The width of it, for this one, the width will be, because it's a 4 columns, the width of this will either fit a twin or a full-size bed. So it'll be a minimum of 70 inches, and it can be up to probably about 78 inches. I don't remember how wide this is. I just measure them when I finish them at the end. So, alright, so we've added a strip of t-shirt that we had, and now we're going to finish sewing this 4th column together, this last column. Almost done. And we break it off. So I'm just cutting off the little excess to make it easier to start sewing around the edge. Yeah, I'm going to fold it up. I'm going to save it in case I need it another time. Time to open it up. And we're going to start sewing around the outside edge now. It's amazing how fast this process goes. So what you see me doing now is just sewing through the 2 layers of t-shirt fabric. And this is the very bottom of the blanket. So this is the time when I even up the bottom of the blanket in the different layers. Do you see how It's a little off there. And again, this is not about perfection for me. I just alter it a little bit as I sew it. I make it as neat as possible, but it's not perfect, and that is okay. And as we come to the end, I'm going to keep sewing once I reach the end. And then you see I turned it 90 degrees. I lift the foot of the machine, and then I start sewing my second side. See how that worked? So what we're going to make is a continuous line all the way around the outside of the blanket. I turn my seam down. I try to be consistent with that as we sew. Keep my threads on the seam out of the way. I'm going to cut them off as we sew. Boy, that gets kind of bright on that part. But there we go. And I think we're on the last square for that side. Yep, see that? So we're going to sew all the way to the end, sew an extra, maybe half an inch or an inch. See, I turn the blanket 90 degrees and then I continue sewing. See, we just keep going with it. So we're on the third side, which is the top of the blanket now, the head of the blanket. Really fast. It's a really fast process, I think. It amazes me taking 16 t-shirts that people didn't want to wear anymore because they have a little bit of stains or grease marks or holes in the armpits or torn collars. It amazes me how we can turn that into a warm, soft blanket that can be used for years to come. I love it. Last side. See how quick that is? We're already finishing up the last side, and we've only been sewing around the edge for like almost 4 minutes. Of course, it's not about speed. I like to make it as neat as I can. And yeah, keep getting those threads out of the way for the seams. Almost done. Now, when I reach the corner, which is of course where I started, I'm going to do what I've done for the past couple of corners, and that is I'm going to sew beyond the corner, and then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and then sew it on top of itself. By doing that, I kind of lock in my threads. I don't know how else to say that, but it just makes it, see? Alright, now I'm going to cut it off, and then I'm going to pull on a couple of the threads to just tighten them down a little bit so they don't come apart. And then cut those off, and we are done, my friends. That's a blanket. That is 16 squares. I know it's hard to completely grasp how big it is. I can tell you this blanket's going to be roughly 70 to 78 inches wide by 90 inches long. And there's all the different designs on all the different t-shirts. You see, the seams don't line up, and that is okay. It really is. Because what's most important here is just using as much of the t-shirt as possible. There's another intersection that is off, and that is okay. They are almost always going to be off, but to me that means that we did a good job and we used all the material that we could. Yay, all done. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to my page and share this